Welcome back. Well, there's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to parenting, so sometimes we need to turn to the experts to help us take a step back and gain some perspective. Here to help us this morning is parenting coach Rachael Fritz from Parenting on Mars. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
I'm thrilled to have you here. We were talking. Tell everyone you're a mother of how many?
I have 3 children, ages 8, 5, and 3.
Okay, so you're in the thick of it. We're in the thick of it together. All right, you're a parenthood coach. Tell people what that means and why do you coach parents?
Yeah, absolutely. So parenting is hard.
Yes.
I don't need to tell you that. And when we take a step back and look at how we resource so many aspects of our lives, there's often this hole missing for how we're getting support as parents in our parenthood. So we do things like we hire executive coaches, personal trainers, nutritionists, spiritual guides, what have you. And when it comes to getting that support and that guidance in our parenting, where do we go? And so I'm a parent coach that, one, helps guide parents through some of just the tricky moments that they're experiencing in parenting. But 2, and really importantly, I help educate parents on what the science tells us is the best approach to raising kids so that they grow, into just thriving, resilient humans.
Oh, thriving and resilient. You're speaking my language.
Yes.
Okay, so tell us, what does the science say?
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually is pretty simple, and it boils down to relationships. So what attachment theorists have found, and this is based on decades of research, is that when we show up for our kids in a way that they feel seen truly for who they are, that they are soothed in times of distress and discomfort, when we're able to set boundaries in a very clear, sturdy way and set them up to really respond to our high expectations, kids succeed in almost all aspects of their lives, and not just while they're children. This lasts a lifetime, and we call that type of relationship a secure attachment.
Okay, what if they have attitudes though, Rachel? then what do we do? What if they do
they're supposed
start pushing
to.
back? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
they're supposed to, right? They're learning. And one thing we need to always keep in mind is that children are not little adults. They're not short adults. They have underdeveloped brains, underdeveloped nervous systems. And so when we can understand, where they are developmentally, then their behavior isn't just their behavior. The behavior is something else. I believe so strongly that behavior is communication. And it communicates either an unmet need or an unlearned skill. And when we look at our children through that lens, then what do? We avoid the labeling of they're disrespectful, they're spoiled, they're rude, right? And then we start to say, oh, okay, there's something else going on here, because when we create that narrative, they start to create that narrative of themselves.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because I remember, and sorry, I can't credit the author, but I remember reading something after I had my first child that said, you have lived your whole life, or the last adult part of your life as an adult, having adult conversations, doing these things without children present, and now you're expecting to keep those conversations going with these little people who don't have developed brains.
Right.
So that really clicked for me.
Absolutely.
I was like, oh, that's so true. What kind of, I have so much I want to ask you, I'm sorry, but what kind of tips then would you give to parents who are looking to start this attachment?
Sure. One of the first things that we can do is really take a step back and look at how we were parented ourselves. So it's making sense of our own experiences and our own childhood, not from a standpoint of that was all bad and we need to do things differently. There are so many traditions and values that we'll want to carry on for generations. But there may also be things that we can change. And so when you make sense of your own experience, it gives you a clue into how you're responding to your children. So when you're showing up in ways that maybe you don't like, right? Because they're reactive, or you're behaving in sort of a subconscious way. With that, making sense gives you a clue into why we behave that way. And then you can set the intention to change it. And so I guide parents, once that intention is set, on how to make those changes.
Okay, we only have about a minute left, but I want to ask, I think this is important because what if parents have different parenting styles? So it's a two-parent household, each parent has a different style. And then I know it's also hard, like with the added pressure of like, honestly, being a stay-at-home mom, I sort of hate that word, but because we're all working moms, but how do you navigate that to even start?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I will say again, like the research shows that in order to develop all of the benefits that come from a secure attachment, at least one caregiver, at least one parent needs to show up in that like attuned way. Now, I'm not dismissing the challenges that come from different parenting styles, but what I would say to anyone watching who's in that situation, you are responsible for your relationship with your child.
Yeah.
You can't always control the relationship that your child has with others.
Okay, I love that. Rachel, for people who want more of you, where can they go? Because I want to keep the conversation going. Thank you for starting
Absolutely. Parentingonmars.com or my socials at parentingonmars on Instagram.
Okay, you're excellent. Thank you so much. I wish we had more time. All right, thank you for being here. Okay, is it a time to